So we are called now case studies and communication strategies focusing on building democracy projects. It's very complicated, but the notion is very easy. So we came up together to learn about how our communication strategies work, pretty much. So we have the component of self-study, then we exchange with what we have learned about the communication practices of our own think tanks. Then we pick up the interesting communication activities in each think tank and make a more detailed case study about each think tank, about its own interesting practice picked up by other think tanks. And then we make the webinars about them to learn how more detail, like some kind of special publications that you produce, or some kind of public activities like the awareness that we have seen in EFN, something of that kind. And then we have this what you call learned in practice stage, that we pick up some interesting activity for all of us and develop a practical intervention to implement it by our own think tanks in our own countries. The issue is that we might not have time to actually implement it in practice, because we have to finish till the end of summer next year, maybe. Well, I know that in Ukraine summer is low season, but if you want to hold a public event, you just don't do that, because everybody's on vacations and there will be very few people. So we are restrained with that, but the idea is that we learn something from theory about ourselves, and then we try to bring it into practice, so that this knowledge about communication of our other think tanks gets something practical. So it's not just we read the reports and then go home. We read the reports and then try it on ourselves. So the project has basically the 4 stages, or 4 components. The first one is what we call internal mapping, and initially it was the idea that the project would be, well, the theoretical part would be just this mapping. So we take the fields of activity of our think tanks, take all the projects in the last few years, each think tank picks its own. Like I picked 4 fields, and 2 for 2 last years. With other think tanks, it's a bit different, but more or less it's 2 last 3 years. And then we go and see what we have done on communication scale, what kind of basically products communicated we did. So it's all about external communication, but mapped internally by the researchers of these think tanks, because we're all not communication staff, and it's good for us to learn how we do communication ourselves, because in reality, this communication work of a think tank, it's not something produced by a communication department. In reality, it's each of us researchers who thinks in terms, who are my stakeholders, who are my messages clear to them, what do I want them to do with the results, well, once they have read my product, and what channels of communication do I use? Do I use printed media? Do I use this digital media? Do I post just on Facebook and it's enough and it's cheap and it achieves my aims? So these kind of things we want to learn. So the second stage is that we look at these mapping reports with all the activities in the last few years, and go into each other's reports and speak, oh, I like this kind of thing. And first we thought that it would be enough to stop on this big mapping thing for the sake of the project. We would do every communication activity in very deep detail, but then we thought that it's going to take very, very long time if we go do everything in deep detail. So we will pick up only one, and then we will analyze this activity with many questions, like was this, what was the target group of this communication activity, what we wanted to say, whether it was selected right or wrong, given that we can look back now from now. So once we have done this deep study of one activity, we go further then with webinars and conference calls, detailed ones. Maybe we would call the people from our think tanks to watch, or maybe we would even make them open. Well, given that we were suggested to think about it, well, we'll think. It will depend on what are the activities and whether it really makes sense to make it open. So we talk and we reflect on whether how it is done. And then this learning by doing stage. It's hard to predict now what exactly we will pick. We're at the last stage of drafting the proposal. We even considered maybe if we have an opportunity to have a face-to-face meeting to see how this communication activity is implemented in the think tank which originates it. Maybe to go and see some special press event in this think tank. It would be nice, but given the restraints of the budget, even one big meeting would take half of our budget. So we'll see. Maybe as the exchange develops, maybe we could have some ideas on that. Maybe not. And one thing about the what?
Here, maybe not.
Well, we'll see.
Yes, as an update from yesterday, we had it as our one objective for this week to decide what do we do with
We do, okay.
for some time. So.
Okay. And one thing about the advice, also we thought of that maybe we want to include this some advice from the communication specialists if we need. But we have to decide now. Maybe we will do as you said, that maybe we'll have some ideas what specifically we need, and then we will pay for that. So pretty much is this why it's called case studies on communication strategies on building democracy. It's because we all four have some shared ideas of our think tanks, of our activities. On one hand, we are very diverse, but on the other hand, the main idea behind what we do is because we want to build democracy. It's helping in building democracy. And when we do pick up the shared action topic, we would think in terms that there are some shared ideas that we want to communicate in our activity, and it's something that at least will keep us in the same framework, let's put it this way. So this is pretty much it.